MSNBC producer resigns and pins a scathing exit letter on the way out the door. Wow. Welcome back to the channel. If you are a new or recurring viewer, I'd like to ask you to please like and share this video. Help it gain some traction. And if you like what I'm doing, please hit that subscribe button and a notification bell. And you can be notified of any time I come up with some new content. And this afternoon, I got an article from The Hill today in which it's titled, "An MSNBC producer pins a scathing exit letter, says ratings model, quote, blocks diversity of thought and content." Producer Ariana Pekary recently resigned from MSNBC with an open letter accusing the news network of predicating its editorial process on ratings and alleging that its model, quote, blocks diversity of thought and content because the networks have incentive to amplify fringe voices and events. She goes on to say, "I don't know what I'm going to do next exactly, but I simply couldn't stay there anymore." Ariana Pekary, a producer for MSNBC's second most watched program, The Last Word with Lawrence O'Donnell, wrote on her website, "My colleagues are very smart people with good intentions. The problem is the job itself. It forces skilled journalists to make bad decisions on a daily basis. It's possible that I'm more sensitive with the editorial process due to my background in public radio, where no decision I ever witnessed was predicated on how a topic or guest would rate. The longer I was at MSNBC, the more I saw such choices. It's practically baked into the editorial process, and those decisions affect news content every day," she continued. "Likewise, it's taboo to discuss how the rating scheme distorts content or simply take it for granted because everyone in the commercial broadcast news industry is doing the exact same thing." And basically, she's already telling us what we've long suspected, that there are some journalists out there who are chasing fringe minorities and viewpoints and putting them out there on mainstream news to perhaps twist the narrative or chase a narrative and not give us the full picture of a story. She says, "Behind closed doors, industry leaders will admit that the damage that's been done," she continued. So they are aware that they are losing trust amongst the majority of the American people when it comes to reporting news and accurate journalism. And she's pretty much fed up with it. She's done and she can't do it no more. And she chose her integrity over a paycheck, which I greatly applaud. And Pekary, who worked on O'Donnell's show until July 24th, added that she believes the news media is making the same mistake it did in 2016 by focusing almost exclusively on President Trump in 2020 and not so much on presumptive Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden. And the same thing happened back when he was running against Hillary. The news cycle was always on Trump. It never really focused on Hillary. It was always something bad coming out. They clearly did not want this man to be elected. And she goes on to say, "This cancer risks our democracy, even in the middle of a presidential election," she writes. "Any discussion about the election usually focuses on Trump, not Joe Biden. And like I said before, it's a repeat offense from 2016. Trump smothers out all other coverage. Also important is to ensure citizens can vote by mail this year, but I've watched that topic get ignored or killed numerous times. The model blocks diversity of thought and content because the networks have incentive to amplify fringe voices and events at the expense of others," Pekary also wrote. "All because it pumps up the ratings." Pekary joined MSNBC 7 years ago as part of the launch of actor Alec Baldwin's weekly program, which lasted just 5 weeks. The resignation echoes that of former New York Times columnist Barry Weiss, who last month penned a scathing resignation letter to Times publisher A.G. Schulzberger on her website claiming a, quote, hostile work environment by fellow staffers because of her centrist views. So that editor or columnist left because the publication was being very hostile towards her for even having a centrist mindset. She didn't want to push that far left narrative. She didn't want to risk her reputation or her integrity just for the clicks, just for the money. And it says here that Vice also alleged that editors were reluctant to go, quote, against the grain with pieces that could spur a backlash on social media. And it just goes to show how much influence social media has on what stories make the news, how the news reports a story, what information it chooses to tell us. And it's just downright sickening. It's an affront, I believe, on the First Amendment, on the freedom of press. And just because they can say something or that they can craft a story a certain way doesn't make it right. And I think this is very important, and I hope you will engage in the conversation and go down into the comments. Let me know what you think, and come at me with any sort of recommendations that I could make to improve this show. Would be very much appreciated. And with that, I'll end this video and bid you a good afternoon, and I hope to see you next time. Thanks.